Hey guys, welcome back. So, as I said in my video on my first year on YouTube, I was going to talk about Kingdom Tracks. And I'm not going to be talking about the same sort of things that everyone else has been saying about his, like, knees and, like, how his legs tab together and all the clear plastic in him. I'm going to give my, like, I'm not going to be talking about the same things, but that's more on the robot mode. But here is Kingdom Tracks, and he's supposed to be a Corvette Stingray, but this doesn't. And obviously, if they were to go with the Corvette Stingray, they'd have to license it from whatever company so they could make it as accurate as possible. So they obviously didn't do that because probably wasn't worth it or something. I don't know. But I guess it's a nice looking car mode, but for a character that really loves his alternate mode, I don't know, it just doesn't make too much sense to me that he's not as close to a Corvette Stingray as they could have just modeled without like getting into like legal constraints or anything. But whatever. But so Trax, he has a flight mode, and I'm gonna put him into his flight mode, and then we're gonna go into robot mode. So there are these two white pieces. You flip these up, and those will become the back fins. And then you'll come to this sort of panel right here. Pull that out, and then you'll swing all that out, bring it out on this hinge. And then you can bring the wing out and then spin that around and then put it right there. So it'll look like that. And just do the exact same thing on the other side. So bring that out. Bring the wing out, spin that around. And there is his flight mode. And then his guns can still fit right there by his wings. I wish you could take his black gun in his robot mode and like plug it in the front like the Masterpiece and like in the show, but it's not that big a deal. But and I don't know, that's really all I have to say about the flight mode. It's his flight mode. It's just basically a car with wings, so there isn't too much to really say about it, but he does have a blast effect port right there, I think. But that's really the most interesting thing about it. But let's just put him into robot mode. So I'm going to pull this back off, just going to pull the guns apart. And this is where I don't like this figure, is a transformation. And it's mainly from robot to car. It's fairly easy going from car to robot, but from robot to car, it's not very fun. There's just a lot of clashing, and I'll talk about that more when we get to robot mode. So for the fins, just push them, bring them back around. So then the arm's just going to straighten them out a little bit just so they're not completely in my way. So the way that the legs tab to the front portion of the hood and the cabin, like the roof and the windows, is weird. There are these two clip things, and then it's tabbed under. You just sort of have to wiggle and pull stuff and sort of just pull it apart because there's this little, I don't know if it's going to focus. There's this little tab there. But there's a little tiny little tab with a slot that will clip into that slot right there. and it fits completely perfect like that. And then you have to get this square hole. You might not see it. It's a square hole there, and then get these two little these two little tabs, teeny weeny little tabs, right there, underneath the hood, and then have that square peg go into that square port. And I think having these pieces here, like with the mirrors molded on to his legs, that was completely unnecessary. They could have just done the square peg and the two little tabs, or completely ditch the square tab and square peg and just have those two tabs. As you could see, I was struggling and I almost had to split him in half just so I could get that out. It is just a super strong connection, and for a part that's made out of clear plastic, tiny little tabs, it is not very conducive to that much stress. It feels better than like what would be on some other figures, but I don't want to risk that because it's not fun. So I think some of those connections could have just been erased from the entire transformation. Obviously, there's probably a better way to untab all of this from the hood or the legs, but that's just how I've done it, and it's not fun. And it is a complete pain trying to peg all this in, because the feet need to be in a super specific spot just to close that up, and you really have to force stuff together, and it's super secure, so there is like zero tolerance for mess up. You have to get everything right or else it won't fit. But I'll talk about that more when we're through the transformation. So, gonna spin this part around just so it's out of the way. And now the legs. You have to spin these back down. Wait. No, you have to bring them through there. If I can remember. I think. It's been a while since I put this guy, because I don't like his transformation, I put him in his vehicle mode and left him there for like a week. So, open up that door. Now you can swing that around. Now you can pull it out. Pull his leg out. So open this panel, and now you bring his foot through here, over it, and now extend his leg. And so now you want to spin his foot around so it's oriented, obviously with the flat for the ground, and then straighten this piece out. And now you're going to close that up, and then this white piece will peg into the panel, and this won't really peg in. There's like a detent for the side of the fender, but doesn't really work. So bring that down so it's like that. Close this up. So now you see the little tab. You're gonna it'll just move it forward and it'll seat itself. You see that little tab? Well, that little slot and the little tab right there. You might be able to see it. It doesn't tab. It's just basically like a detent for it to sit in. So now you'll spin the waist around, extend the chest, and then this all will sort of like accordion up on these hinges. So it'll go in. It'll go in like this, and then push in like that. So just straighten his legs out and bring his arms down now, so they're not so there. And now you fold out his fists. Adjust the wings however you want to. Now the backpack. There's this hinge, this gray hinge, and you just fold it up, and now that little tab, this little gray tab, will go into that slot. So just fold it up, and it will slot in. Oops. And it will slot into his back. So there. And now for his weapons, you can just try to get him standing. Put this in his hand, and you can make him hold this, but if you want to go from the cartoon or basically any media that Trax has been in, you want to put it up here, but you can't just lightly push it in or swivel it. You can't just lightly push it in like basically every other peg. You have to force it in, and I think I saw a stress mark. Maybe. I don't know. I might be... I don't know. I feel like I saw one, but when I just checked, I didn't see one. But whatever. Doesn't matter. So there you go. There is Kingdom Trax. And I like the look of his robot mode. I like it. But there are a few caveats to him. So number one, the QC issues. This guy, he got hit super hard with QC checking. So a lot of people's have their knees don't peg together. Their knees are loose. Mine's hips are super loose. The ankles cannot support his own weight. They're just not good enough, and they're also small. I like big, thick feet because if it can't withstand its own weight, I don't know. His feet are better than like Kingdom Cheetor's, but just something to note. And the way that these affix to the rest of the legs are pretty pathetic. They should have been made with like legit tabs and not just small teeny weeny tabs. They should have been made with like a thick peg that could easily detent into it, or make those like a soft ratchet so they could somewhat stay in that tab a bit better. But my problem is just the transformation, is that the order of operations for his legs to fit them over the hips to transform him, I didn't like that. So what I try with this guy is I have been transforming Transformers for a long time, and most of the time, especially nowadays, I can roughly look at the instructions once and figure it out from there. Like, look at the instructions once, transform it, and I can do it on and on and on and on without looking at the instructions ever again. And that's for most collectors, or most people that purchase Transformers. And I tried transforming him without the instructions. And I guess I thought about it for a little bit, and my philosophy over, I'm going to start trying that now with new figures that I have, is that will highlight deficiencies in the transformation. If that's overly complex order of operations, like you have to do it in this specific order or else it won't work, or super complex to where it just like super specific spots that pieces have to be in, or super complex to where I have to look at the instructions because I don't know where something will go. And I really noticed that with him because I had to get the instructions out. And I have watched the Lazy Eyebrow Reviewers video on him. And I thought I knew what I was getting into when I went to transform him without looking at the instructions, but I didn't. The legs are absolute nightmare, and then tabbing all of this into the hood for the legs to create the full hood for the vehicle mode, I don't like it. It is not fun. I stress the plastic. I got him like halfway transformed to that spot, and I had to drop it. I was about to throw it because it was just so very, very frustrating, is that the legs have to be in a super specific spot. And I know I don't always remember or mind the every step of the transformation, but I don't think that a transformer should have to be like that. Like Iron Will. I transform that guy all by memory. And I probably do some of it wrong, but the engineering is the engineering is good enough to where I can transform it however I want, and I'll still get the same result. It may not be as quick. That's what the instruction should be doing. It should just be showing me the quickest way to transform it, not the only way to transform it. And this guy can't do that. You have to do everything specifically. You have to have the instructions. You have to do it that way. You can't transform it in your sort of order of operations. You have to do it in the way the instructions tell you, which, that could be an argument against me. But a lot of the figures that I have, I can do that. I can transform them however I want, and I can still get there. It may not be as quick, but it's the way that I'm comfortable with and I can remember. And that is just an added bonus to having great engineering. If this just had a couple more refinements, not bringing in the QC issues, it could be a very nice figure, in my personal opinion. I know some people really like this, and I know that some people really hate it. And I know that the hips and all the QC stuff was changed with the later Road Rage, and I like that deco a lot more than Trax, but I just don't like the guy's transformation, and it made me very, very frustrated when I was transforming him into car mode for this video. That's why I transformed him, and I left him for about a week. Because he's just frustrating. I do not like the way that he transforms. It's not fun, and I can easily, if I got frustrated at it, I can easily see my younger self or a kid getting frustrated at it. And I have to say it, is that this guy's supposed to be meant to be played with. He's supposed to be a toy, and if it can't do his main gimmick of transform without making a kid frustrated, he ultimately fails at his job. I don't care about fan service for the people that love Trax. I don't care about any of the stuff for collectors. He is built to be made as a toy, and the shoddy quality control and the crummy transformation will make a kid frustrated. I don't care anything about accuracy, what his accessories are, or how good his deco is. If he can't nail any of that, then he is, in my personal opinion, one of the worst figures I've received so far in the year. Not saying that I don't appreciate having it, just saying is that Hasbro could have done better. They could have done way better with this guy. And even just fixing the QC, having better QC on his limbs, on his legs, would have easily made it a whole lot better. So, that was kind of a rant, and fairly opinionated, but, I get he's still out, there's Road Rage, so if you want a version of this mold, you're going to be paying, like $20-25 for him, at least around here. But me personally, I wouldn't buy it again. If I were to buy it, it would be Road Rage just because of the deco. Probably open up the box, put her on the shelf, not messing with it. And that's probably where this guy's going to live. Transformed it a couple of times and probably just going to live on the shelf from now on. But that's really all I have to say. So, until next time, see ya.